camera situated here. There we go. Hi everyone. Welcome to today's live stream where we will be discussing lots of stuff about kratom withdrawals. And I've had lots of questions and comments about people who are going through them. So I wanted to make this live stream and come and hang out and discuss this together. And welcome to you if this is your first time stopping by. Welcome back if you're coming back here. This is a safe place for all of us to come and talk about our kratom addictions and recovery process. And so I'm glad that you all are here. Okay, so I want to start off by saying before we get into this that everybody's different when it comes to kratom withdrawals. And a lot of you have been asking, how long are they going to be? How many days, weeks? I'm having this symptom. I'm having this, thing go on during my withdrawal process, and how long is it going to be? And I tell everybody that since we're all different, all of us are going to have different experiences. So for all of us, it's going to be completely different. And today I'm going to be sharing about what I personally went through. And I encourage you to share your experience in the comments section as we're live here, or in the comments below when this video is posted, so that we can all share our different experiences and it can help others who are going through this process. Yeah, I'm gonna, just to give everybody a heads up too, I have not as long to stream today, so I'm gonna just share everything that I wanted to share, and then we can hang out in the comments section for a little bit and catch up, and I will read all your comments at the end. So, okay, so my experience with kratom withdrawals was not an easy one. I'm at actually 2 years and 10 months now of being kratom free, and I've gone through a long process getting back to a new normal after quitting kratom. I was on it for 3 years total. One of those years was a long taper at the end. So I was also taking a fairly large amount. I was taking 40 to 60 grams per day at my highest. So this is something that plays into what kind of withdrawals you're going to experience, how much you're taking, how long you've been taking it. And so that's something to keep in mind as you're wondering, how long is this going to take? And it's very easy as we're going through this, as we're going through the pain, as we're going through, the depression, the anxiety, the anhedonia, all of these things that come with kratom withdrawals for some of us, it's really easy to wonder, how long is it going to be? And unfortunately, there's not a definitive answer to this, like I was saying. So for each and every one of us, the process is going to be completely different. So first we'll talk about acute withdrawals, which is the part of the withdrawal process right after you quit. And this can last anywhere between a couple days, 3 days, up to a month. And this is the hardest part of the withdrawal process. The symptoms that we experience are going to be most intense during this time. And I'm going to be saying this throughout the video, that the purpose of this video is to encourage you all through this, because when you're going through it, it's gnarly. I'm not going to sugarcoat it in any way. It's going to be gnarly. It's going to be hard. It's going to test you. But it does not last forever. And there were points in my recovery process where I had wondered if I had done permanent damage to myself. But as I'm at this place in my recovery, I can tell you 100% that it gets better, and you have to hang in there and you have to push through. So, sorry, let me get situated and get comfy here. So, okay, my acute withdrawal symptoms were most intense for 2 weeks, and they faded over time. I'm reading from my notes here. The symptoms that I experienced during this process, this part of the process, was pain. I had full body pain. I had aches and achiness in my joints. I had, and it kind of like came over me in waves. So it wasn't just like pain in one area, it was like my whole body was aching. I had a blinding headache for a couple days. So it was like pain that moved through my whole body. One of the things that was really tough was I had really intense sensitivity to all stimuli, whether it be light, sound, temperature. I was cold all the time, and then I would like get hot all of a sudden. So I was really sensitive to any sort of like external stimuli. I experienced confusion. I experienced where like just nothing was making sense, and it was literally a process of just going moment to moment, and like just feeling like absolutely nothing made sense. I experienced a really strong anxiety that bordered on panic attacks, and I actually did have some panic attacks at different times. I experienced night sweats where I would wake up in the middle of the night having completely like, drenched through my clothes and, all of my sheets and stuff. I experienced really, really rough insomnia, and a lot of these things, a lot of us do experience, but sleep issues are one thing that I've found like kind of is across the board for a lot of us, that we have a hard time sleeping, especially at first. And for me, I would go multiple nights, 3, 4, 5 nights with couple hours sleep at most that was broken up, and I wasn't hitting a deep sleep at all. I would get these, and I don't know if there's even a technical term for them, but I would call them like brain zaps, where it would be like I was experiencing these, like it felt like almost electrical surges through my whole body that would make me like jump. And I've kind of like wondered, like, are these the pathways in my brain that we're used to, the kratom? Are they like firing off and causing these like, zaps to my whole body? I'm not sure exactly what it was, but that was something that I experienced at first intensely, and it did fade over time. I had restless legs, where even when I was sleeping, my legs would be like moving, and I would have like these jolts in my legs. I had a pretty heavy depression that lasted a while, and also I had a sense of hopelessness as well for a while. I had sneezing and a runny nose at first mostly, and that went away pretty quick. And then I also had extreme fatigue. And this is something I want to take a moment to focus on. We'll, talk about some of these other symptoms as well, but extreme fatigue is something that someone has been asking me about. To share my experience, and so I wanted to share it on here, that fatigue is going to be a part of this for some of us, and it's one of the hardest symptoms, and it's for some of us one of the longest symptoms that we deal with. Our bodies, especially depending on how long we were using, our bodies are tired after the kratom use. And also I think that, you know, we used kratom for so long to motivate ourselves, and it hijacks our brain and our neurochemistry and takes over like our whole, like, you know, dopamine response in our brain, which is responsible for motivation and for happiness. And so when we take out the kratom, which has been giving our brains and our neurochemicals a sense of either motivation, happiness, calm, peace, it's going, when it's gone, our brains and our bodies are just like, you know, what's going on? Where is it? And as with all symptoms that we're discussing, all of this is the rewiring and the recalibration of our brains and our bodies after addiction. So it is a necessary part of the process, and it's difficult and it's hard, but it's what our bodies are doing to regain health and balance and homeostasis after our addictions. So with the fatigue in particular, that can be really challenging because, you know, we all have things in our lives that we need to do. My life was on hold for a certain amount of time thanks to my husband, who was holding it down for us. But for a lot of us, we don't have that option. And, you know, we have jobs, we have families, we have different things that we need to do in our lives. And so when we're in a constant state of extreme fatigue, it really affects our lives. So that's something I wanted to explain, that, like, you know, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but the ways that we can help this are by eating well, by when we get through the acute withdrawals, which we'll finish talking about in a moment. When we get through the acute withdrawals and we start to get into our long-term recovery, prioritizing our rest, prioritizing our diets and what we're eating and how we're eating and when we're eating. I'm going to be talking about supplements here in a minute, utilizing supplements. And really one of the biggest factors with this whole process is patience. And I know it's tough to hear. I know how hard it is. I went through it for so long, and there's still aspects of my life, it may not be with kratom withdrawals or recovery anymore, but, you know, for all of us have things going on in our lives where we're not getting what we want when we want it. And so, you know, patience is something that we have to, you know, cultivate during this time. Navigating through the beast system says, I'm going through a very long, let me get you back up here. Very long taper. Awesome, man. I went through a very long taper. Welcome to you. I'm glad that you're here today. I don't have the longest amount of time, so I'm going to go through everything, and then I look forward to hanging out with you and everybody else at the end when I go through comments and we can just chill and stuff. So if I don't acknowledge your comments while we're in this part of our hangout, then know that at the end I wanna hang out with you guys and chill and catch up and talk about everything. So yeah, fatigue is rough, man. It's something that it takes away our joy, it takes away our motivation, it takes away our abilities to be able to do things. And for a lot of us, before we started on kratom, you know, we had things that we enjoyed doing. We had hobbies, relationships, stuff that we were passionate about. And when we go through this, you know, this addiction and this recovery, and we're dealing with something like fatigue, it can really take away the joy in our lives. And all of these symptoms can, but fatigue is really hard. And fatigue is one of those symptoms that, for me at least, it lasted for a very long time. And I don't want to discourage you when I share that my experience and when I share the amount of time that it lasted for me, because Again, we're all different. You may recoup faster than me. I was dealing with different in my health that were factors in this for me, and I think that that's why it took so long. I had lost so much weight, you guys, during my addiction, and I was so malnourished and so underweight. And so that was a big factor for me when I was getting off of kratom, was that like not only was navigating my withdrawal symptoms, but I was navigating really hardcore like malnutrition. So, and then I've mentioned it quite a few times that I had lost two close family members right before and during my addiction. So I had to navigate all of the grief that came along with it. So that was a factor in my recovery that I think made things last for so long. So those symptoms that were in my acute withdrawals, which is the process right after quitting, lasted, the most hardcore part of it lasted about 2 weeks. So if you're, in your taper, like navigating the beast system is in their long taper, if you're gonna, jump cold turkey, wherever you're at, know that the acutes do not last forever, and it's difficult, but they don't last forever, as do the long-term withdrawal stuff that we're going to get into for a moment. So as you prepare for your final jump, whether it be at the end of your taper or when you're going to do it cold turkey, know that, and I'm telling you right now, that it's hard, but you will live through it. And I kind of look at things, I'm creative, and like, I love to write and stuff, so I look at things like, metaphorically and all, in all different ways. And like, I liked to look at it, and I look back on it, and I still look at it this way, that like, the life. Hey Angelo, yay, I'm glad that you made it. I'm stoked you're here. The life that you deserve is on the other side of this, what you're going through with your withdrawals. And it's almost like a gate into freedom. You've cut down from 28 grams to 15 grams in 3 days. You can't believe it. Dude, I am so stoked to hear that. See, it is so possible. I didn't think I could do it either. The tapering is working, yes. And you're doing it pretty hardcore. Like I did a hardcore cut at first. I've shared what I did, that I was at such a large amount that I cut my grams per day in half at first. So I cut down at first to 4 7-gram doses from between 40 and 60 at my highest. So the first cut was really gnarly, but it got me into a place where it was more manageable to do a slower taper. Navigating the beast system, if he's still here, yes, you're still here. You're doing a longer taper, which I did for the last, the first cut that I made was a year prior to when my final quit was. So I did a solid, 9, 10, even longer than that, because I did the first cut and then I chilled at the 28 grams for about 4 months. What I did was I would cut, and then I would chill at that amount for about a month and just let myself regulate and all of that. So it was a year-long process for me. Dude, Angelo, well, it hasn't been that bad. I have more energy. These 9 grams a dose was detrimental. I was consistently sedated even. I gotta catch the end of that. Even with high tolerance. Dude, that's what I was gonna say. I said it in the last stream. I don't want to encourage anybody to like stay on this stuff forever, but I noticed so many more benefits when I cut back as well. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's something that it is encouraging. When you're tapering or when you're preparing for your quit, there is, and now that I hear Angelo's experience, it happened for me too. When I got off those heavy duty doses, I hit this sweet spot. I think it was around 4 to 6 grams, maybe less than 6 grams. But I hit this sweet spot where I started to actually like feel the positive effects of it again, because when I was on such a high amount, exactly as what Angela's saying, I was constantly sedated. I was always sick, you know, because when you get to that like toxicity level almost, where like my eyes are wiggling, I'm like, you know, like constantly like so sick, not eating anything, because I mean, I got to the point where I just wouldn't even, you know, I would just dose, I wouldn't eat. So I was just constantly like super sick and like, you know, white as a ghost, like completely all the color in my skin completely washed out, my eyes all sunken in. And so when I cut back and I hit this sweet spot, I was like, and that's why I don't want to encourage anybody, because when you hit that sweet spot, I mean, for me, I was thinking for a second, like, oh, this is, you know, this is cool. Like, I'm starting to feel good again. And like, you know, oh, I could probably stay here. And like, you know, this is probably sustainable. But I was still losing a lot of hair. My skin was still an absolute mess, meaning it was super, super dry. And there was nothing I could put on it. You Navigating the Beast System says, yeah. Yes, so I think that we all agree here. There was nothing I could put on my skin that it would like literally suck it up, like even like coconut oil, the heaviest, you know, like oils and creams and all this stuff. And I would just be like completely like, you know, like super dry. And there were other things that even at that sweet spot that I found, excuse me, there were other things that it was still causing damage in my life, even though it seemed like, okay, this may be a little bit more sustainable. So I'm stoked, Angelo, that you are having a good experience with your taper. And that's something that can encourage us all, that as we're, you know, going into our tapers, going through it, getting ready to jump, there are positive things that we can experience in this process. It's not all bad. The only thing about lowering the doses, you will start to be stimulated, so sleep has been hard. Yeah, man, I was just talking about that when I first started, about how sleep issues seem to be just a common thing across the board for all of us, where like, I mean, for me, when I would first cut in my tapers, during my tapering process, I wouldn't sleep for like 3 nights. And then when I did my final jump, but I will keep lowering it till I'm like at 2 grams per dose. Yes, man. I lowered to right around a gram. I tried to mess around with like half grams and all that kind of stuff. And by that point, I was just annoyed. And see how the withdrawals go from there after I stop using it. Yes. And, you know, even with me with a taper, I still had an acute withdrawal process after the final quit, excuse me, that I was talking about, what I was experiencing with that when I first started. What I was going to say too is that for me, what made it really easy at the end, thank God, like there were just things that led into me finally quitting that were just like, it made it so much easier that my source that I was getting my kratom from, their quality was all over the place. And so I would try different vendors, and I just could not find one that worked. So at the end, not only was I dealing with like, okay, I'm at a gram, and am I going to, you know, continue to go down? Like, I've heard of some people going down to even less than half a gram. So, it's up to everybody. Yay, Layla, day 19, cold turkey for me. Now fatigue and boredom still seizing. Oh, Layla, I am so glad to hear this. I have been praying so hard for you, and I've been thinking about you so much, and I am so glad to hear cold turkey too. We're talking about tapering. I tapered. Everybody that's here right now, that's chatting, also is tapering. So, and I have mad respect for people who cold turkey, because it's something that I could not do, and I didn't try, but I just knew that, like, where I was at and what I was going through, that, like, I couldn't do it. So I tapered. Layla, I am so stoked to hear this. And you're at day 19, which you're getting through. This boredom is interesting. I think it's actually a good sign. Thank you for your prayers. Anytime, sister. That's something I didn't talk about. I was going over the symptoms that I had during my acutes, and I didn't mention the boredom. And I was talking a lot about fatigue a moment ago, which I'll talk a little bit more about, Layla, because that was for you. And but to go into the boredom for a second, dude, we're so used to, I don't have it to me to taper, but when I started, I left it open as an option. Yes, some of us, it just prolongs the whole thing. And for some of us, because it does take discipline. And for some of us, it's really hard to, like, like, it's, you have to stick with it. And I have a gal that's tapering right now, and I always encourage her that, like, if you want to chill at the amount that you're at, cool, but don't go back. Don't start taking more, because it like creates this situation where it's a lot of discipline. And for some of us, just jumping cold turkey, sweating it out, and going through the thick of it and getting it over with quicker is what's best for some of us. I like how you said you could watch cat videos all day. I could watch crap all day too. Now I need to find activities. LOL. Angela says my 3-day withdrawals were horrible. So when I see their heroin addict saying that the withdrawal is nothing, it blows my mind. Yes, dude. Layla, the boredom is for real. The YouTube addiction is for real. The crappy videos of watching whatever comes through our feed is real. Think about it. I was talking about this a moment ago. Our brains and our neurochemistries are hijacked by kratom when we are addicted to it, and even when we dabble with it. Our dopamine, our serotonin, all these neurochemicals that are responsible for a sense of motivation, calm, happiness, reward, all of that is taken over by kratom. So what we used to do for entertainment, how we used to feel motivated, how we used to feel fulfilled by kratom is completely, or pardon me, what we used to be fulfilled before kratom came into our lives, our hobbies, our relationships, simple joys, like, little things. It's all hijacked by kratom. And so when that takes over, or any opioid, when that takes over, we are getting that sense of happiness and reward from the kratom. So when we cut back and when we quit, our brains are like, what's going on? Where is it? So the things that we used to get enjoyment from before kratom, it's not going to register for a minute. And I'm going to go into pause in a second, because anhedonia is something that I experienced for a really long time. Freezing up a little bit. Whatever, we're just going to keep, there we go. We're going to keep it going. Anhedonia is basically the inability to feel pleasure from anything. And that can also translate into boredom. And, boredom, just before going into anhedonia, boredom in a very, basic sense, our time was taken up by our addiction. Our focus was taken up by our addiction. And so when we come out of it, yeah, for me, like, my whole sense of time was completely different. Like, time as I knew it when I was on my addiction, I was contending with a weed addiction too, which I also quit 3 months after quitting kratom. It was like all of my perception of time was completely, changed. And it felt like time moved so much slower, which in a way is good. You know, we're able to like be in the moment more, I guess. But when you're like navigating withdrawals, Layla says, thank you for talking about this. The anhedonia, it is very real. The days are so long. Dude, yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, it was brutal at first. Like, I would literally just like, and you know, I was sharing earlier, like, thank God I was able to take a break from, you know, working during this time. My son was old enough where he wasn't, you know, needing the constant care, and had his own things going on. So like I was left to, you know, work this out and everything and go through this. And like, dude, like the boredom and like the sense of time moving so slowly, and you know, the sense of the withdrawals themselves and navigating things, like it felt like it was taking so long. So that's very real. And a big part of why I do this is because I want everybody to know that they're not alone. I want everybody to know that this is not going to last forever. Because for a lot of us, I mean, I was alone going through my process, and I also didn't know anybody that, you know, thought that kratom was a problem, and I hadn't found the Quitting Kratom subreddit on Reddit yet. So like, I didn't know about any of this stuff. So I was going through it blindly, just like navigating it without any, you know, any sort of a sense of like, how long is this going to take? Am I feeling normal? And so it was really hard, and that's why I've, you know, it's unfolded organically, you know, this channel and this community. But it's my heart behind this, that I want everybody to know that they're not alone, and that, you know, what I went through may not be exactly what you're going through, but what I went through may give you the sense of like, okay, somebody else has gone through this. I'm not like, this isn't me, you know, just me going through this. I'm not, you know, I haven't caused permanent damage, which all of you who are just joining us now, that was something that I emphasized earlier. That's so important. I thought, guys, that I had done permanent damage to myself. And that was something that was really sad. And it was really like, I was already bummed as it was. But to think like, I've really messed myself up here. I've really messed up my brain and my body. And I want to let you know that it is not for, you know, it is not permanent. And so, you know, there are some things that take a while, and it's going to require patience. It's going to require, you know, strength. And we're not going to get into a ton of faith-based stuff right now, because we have our prayer group on Tuesday, and I want to keep some of these streams, you know, a little more focused on other things. But you know, that I will say this really quickly, that that's where my faith really came in, was that when I didn't have the strength to do it myself, God gave me that strength. And so that's all that I'm going to say about that. But yes, Layla, the anhedonia and the boredom is for real. And I just want to let you know it's not going to last forever, and keep pushing through, and know that the good that's to come is so awesome. You say that's how I felt also, especially about the benzos. I thought my brain was permanently damaged. Yes. And dude, that is something that is so cool. I've mentioned this before, that like our bodies they're miracles, man. And like they are designed to heal themselves. And no matter how much damage we've done, my hair, my skin, my teeth, because that's something that I don't know if anybody else has experienced, but because of like the dry mouth, and because like we need the saliva in our mouths for our mouths to be healthy. And like I never had like any sort of, I didn't have many cavities, but I had so much buildup on my teeth after my kratom addiction that I had to take care of. And I had to get a deep cleaning, which is something that I've never had to do in my life. And Layla says, I know God is going to restore everything, and I'm in a waiting season. Yes, sister, it's hard, but I have to trust him. And Dang, I need to get my chat to last longer because I miss the messages. It's hard, but I have to trust him, and he uses everything the devil meant for harm, and it turns it around. I wish I could quit, Penguin Shoes says. Real quick, Layla, to just second that emotion, that all things work for good for those who believe and are called according to his purpose. All things work for good. And I am living proof of it, that all things have worked for good. Penguin Shoes, I think that's your name. Penguin Shoes, welcome to you. I'm so glad that you're here. I was in that same place of wishing that I could quit, and Angela says you can quit, you just have to really want it, and that is the truth. I stayed in a place of wanting to quit for a year. When I quit the last time, I didn't want to, so I relapsed hard. Yes, I'm gonna go into I'm gonna do a whole video or live stream about relapsing, because I don't know if you guys have ever come across psyched substances stuff. He's a dude whose channel I used to watch when I first got into kratom, who has done videos about kratom, and he keeps relapsing, and I'm gonna make a video talking about that and talking about relapse in general. For me, I have not relapsed because, yeah, Angelo, yep, and he's like super buff now. He looks so different. Yes, that's him. And I'm actually going to start praying for him. Yeah, I feel bad for him. His family keeps leaving him. Well, dude, I mean, I don't know, multi-drug addictions, dude, like, I was just talking about this the other day. Like, I feel like there are consequences and a price to pay for, like, having a channel like that. Like, he has 2.5 million subs, and he's, like, basically advocating and promoting drug use. And so that's a whole other topic. But, Penguin Shoes, I am so stoked that you're here. You made it to the right place. This community is awesome, and we are all here for you wherever you're at in your process. And please know that where you are right now and wanting to quit, that a lot of us have been there. I have been there. And some of us went through a taper, a long taper, a short taper. Layla, who's here right now, quit cold turkey. So there are a lot of us who have been exactly where you are, and I am living proof that it is possible to get off of it. And you're welcome to connect with me directly if you want to talk more about where you're at. I'm going to continue on about different things that have helped me in my process. All of us, I'm going to keep yeah, that's a good question, Angelo. What is your grams per day, and how long have you been on kratom? Because that's definitely a factor in where you're at in your addiction, and it also plays a factor in your quitting and recovery process. So yeah, so I'm going to be discussing more about the whole like withdrawals, you know, and the short-term acutes, the pause. When I first started, I went through my symptoms that I experienced, and I know that a lot more of you here, so sorry to be repetitive, but I'm going to go over that real quick again. I tried quitting cold turkey, but I suffered really crazy side effects, fever-like symptoms. It's dude, that's completely normal. I did as well. All of us have, and that's one of the really gnarly things about kratom, is that a lot of times we hear that it's no more addictive than coffee, and we don't know when we get into this that this is the deal with kratom, and that it's the, you know, that these sorts of withdrawals are a part of it. So and for a lot of us, it's very isolating to be going through that. So you made it to the right place, because a lot of us have gone through this. So I'm going to go over real quick again what I experienced in my acute withdrawals, and then I'm going to start talking about long-term kratom recovery symptoms, which are nicknamed PAWS, which is post-acute withdrawal syndrome. Excuse me. So my acute symptoms that I experienced, which were most intense for the first 2 weeks, and then they faded slowly. Since you mentioned psyched, after you finish, you can tell us what your thoughts are on psychedelics for addiction. Oh, dude, that's a whole realm in itself. I thought that my channel at first was going to go into that because I come from a hippie background. I left home when I was 16 and I started traveling the country following Fish and the rest of the members of the Grateful Dead. And psychedelics were like literally like a religion for me, and music was like a religion for me for a really long time. So I have a lot of experience with it, and you may not want to hear what I have to say, but it is my experience, and I can go into it really quick. But right now my channel's focused on kratom addiction and recovery and supporting everyone that's going through it and building this community. But in the future, I would like to go into more about my experience with psychedelics and what I've learned, and where I'm at now in my life, because I have extensive experience with it. So I'll touch a little bit more in the end when we're hanging out. But to go over what I experienced, and if Penguin Shoes is still here, this may be cool for you to hear, because we have, all of us have gone through some of these symptoms, so you're not alone in it. And my acute withdrawals, which are what happened right after quitting, were pain. I had full body pain in my joints. It like rippled through my body. I had sensitivity to stimuli, so I was sensitive to temperature. I'm not sure what my gram per day is, but I dose at least 3 times per day. Yeah, I've noticed once I started like doing it multiple times per day, everything went downhill fast. I love you guys, but I'm going to get through what I want to share, because I love hanging out with you, and I want to be able to, at the ends, to chill for a second and go over comments and all of that. But I want to get through what I wanted to share, and I keep getting sidetracked. Sorry, I'm kind of lagging a little bit. Catch up. There we go. So I experienced sensitivity to stimuli, which was light, sound, temperature, interactions with people even. I hated going to the grocery store. I hated it. I hated anything actually in public. I hated like running into strangers and having to make small talk. Like I really wasn't even capable of it. I was really sensitive to just other people too. Like kratom put me in this really like weird headspace where, and I'm going to talk about that more at some point, where like it put me in this very like paranoid state of mind, where like I kind of like felt like everybody was out to get me. I kind of felt like everybody was like, like could tell, not that I was on kratom specifically, but like, that they could tell that something was off with me. So I was very sensitive to that, and I avoided any sort of interaction with anybody. I had really extreme anxiety, especially for the first, the acute part of my process, and it lasted for quite a while. It bordered on panic attacks. Let me say, sorry, I keep lagging a lot today. There we go. I bordered on panic attacks, and I did have some panic attacks. I had night sweats where I would drench through everything in my sheets. I would have insomnia really bad, especially when I would do my cuts and my taper. And when I was going after my final jump, and I went through my acutes, I didn't sleep after my final jump. I didn't sleep for more than a couple hours a night for probably a week. And I would try to rest during the day, but it was brutal. I had fatigue, which Layla, this is something that I really wanted to go into more with you, that sorry, I'm like lagging super bad today. And I'm sure, because that made me think about it too for a second, that like, the insomnia that we experience. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was in the depths of my addiction, I wasn't sleeping for more than 3 to 4 hours at a time during the night, even when I was in addiction, because I would literally wake up in withdrawals. And if I would dose too late at night, like say I would take like a dose at like 11 or midnight or something, thinking like, oh, I'm going to take this and like go to sleep, I would end up like becoming a little like, like, and there was like this subconscious thing that like, oh, I don't want to miss, the good part of after dosing, even though I wasn't getting anything good at the end. And so I would just like sit on YouTube for like, before I would know it, 3-4 hours would go by, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I still haven't fallen asleep yet. So I would sleep a few hours. I'd wake up at like 7, dose again, smoke weed, and then like, when it would start to wear off, I would go to sleep for a couple hours in the morning. So like, I don't know if that, plays into the fatigue that we experience after quitting, that like we weren't sleeping right for however long that we were in our addictions. If, that's something that you experience too with having it affect you that way when you were in your addiction. I experienced these things, I call them like brain zaps or body zaps, where it would feel like there was just something in my brain and in my body that was like literally like zapping, like I was getting shocked. And I would like, it literally felt like electric, like I was having these electrical surges that were going through my brain and my body. And I said earlier that it like made me think of like, the neural pathways in my brain. And it's like, I was thinking like, are they like firing because, they're looking for the kratom, and there's like literally this like, thing firing off, like, because it felt like an electrical current was just going through my body. I would have restless legs where I would like, along with these zaps where like I would just like shake, like get like have like my whole body like shake for a second. I would have my legs shaking. And this would happen all night, where I would just like literally like my legs are like shaking and moving around. I'm having the pain going on as well in the achy joints. So like I'm trying to like just like move as well because I'm in pain. So that was something that went on. I had depression and hopelessness that happened for, that was one of the things that lasted a little bit longer. I had sneezing and runny nose, which Layla's on day 19, and she's still experiencing that. Yeah, Layla, I'm going to talk about that at the end for sure, because I'm with you on that. Been there and done that too. Got the tie-dye Grateful Dead t-shirt that I got rid of afterwards, so I've been there and done that too. Sneezing and runny nose, Layla, you're going through this right now, and for me it also lasted. It was one of the things that lasted, not into long term, but it lasted a little over a month for me. And then I also like, I still kind of deal with like weird sinus stuff, but that doesn't have to do with kratom recovery. I don't think. I mean, I'm pretty far out, but and then the extreme fatigue, and that was something that we were talking about earlier that I wanted to address specifically because Layla, you had been asking about it. And I said before, I'm going to say it again, I'm going to say it multiple times during this hangout, that these are all things that suck, but they're not going to last forever. And they're going to test us. They're going to make us stronger in the end, even though it may not seem like it. But it's going to be hard for a little bit. And but they do not last forever. And a lot of us, Penguin Shoes, if you're still here, you may be in this space right now. And for a lot of us, and I've been connecting with a few people that are going through this right now, where you're in that space where like you're not ready to move forward in your quit because you're, apprehensive or afraid about what's to come. And it's completely natural to feel that way. And I was there. I spent a solid year knowing that my kratom addiction was not sustainable, and things were just like, my life was crumbling around me and from underneath my feet, and like my relationships are crumbling, my health is crumbling, and I knew that it was not sustainable, and I knew that it was hell on earth and that I was miserable. And I was not ready to even start, thinking about cutting back for a solid year. And so if you're still watching, or if anybody's still watching, or if anybody's watching in the future that you're experiencing this where you're just not ready yet, like, please know that I understand, and a lot of us understand how you feel. And it's completely natural to feel this way. But I will tell you, and I'll tell everybody right now, that no matter where you are at in your process, that going through this and having this experience, it's hard, man. But like, when you get to the other side of it, I can't even articulate to you. Hey, William Cornelius, stoked that you're here. I'm glad that you made it today. I'm going to be going over a bunch of stuff about withdrawals, and then at the end, I look forward to hanging out with everybody and catching up with you and everybody in the comments at the end of talking about everything. So I'm stoked that you're here. So everybody, seriously, wherever you're at, I know that it gets dark. I know that it gets lonely. I know that it gets painful. I know that it gets sad, and it's hard. But I can promise you right now that what is to come is gonna blow your mind, literally. Are things gonna be perfect? No, they're not. Are you gonna, win the lottery and get everything that you want? No, you're not. I don't know, maybe, but chances are you're not. But one of the most beautiful things about recovery that I want to touch on for a moment before I go into post-acute withdrawal stuff and long-term recovery, and I'm also going to share supplements that help me and other things that help me. What I want to touch on real quick is that this process is a part of you getting free from kratom. This process of going through, these withdrawals and going through this pain, and, for a lot of us going through this suffering, it is integral to moving forward. And what is going on is our brains and our bodies are affected by our kratom addiction. It changes our neurochemistry in our brains. It changes how our bodies work, every aspect of them, down to the cellular level. It changes the way our digestive system works. It changes the way that our endocrine system works, which is responsible for our hormones and stuff. So everything that is taken over during our kratom addiction and is affected by it, this process is integral to our body's rewiring. Our bodies and our brains are naturally going to try to reach homeostasis, which means a balance. And a balance, it happens when we have no substances in our system that are disrupting that homeostasis and that balance. So when we put substances in our system of any nature, not even just kratom, coffee, weed, sugar, hard drugs, any sort of substance that's going to change that neurochemistry, our bodies are constantly fighting to regain that balance and regain that homeostasis. So that's what withdrawals are. It is basically our bodies like struggling to recalibrate. And we're talking about grams per day. We're talking about how long we've been in our addiction, because it does play a factor in our withdrawal process. Because when our bodies are going through that, that struggle and that battle to regain that homeostasis, how long we've been using and how much we've been using is a factor because like, you know, for some of us, the withdrawals are harder. And for me, they were really hard because I was taking a lot. And so it's that natural process that's going to happen when our bodies are regaining that balance. And it is a battle, everybody. It's literally a battle. It's our body's fight to regain that balance. And so that's what withdrawals are. And I wanted to mention that real quick. So I want to talk about post-acute withdrawal syndrome, which is PAWS for short, and it's what happens to some of us in long-term kratom recovery. And so I'm at 2 years and 10 months, and I experienced PAWS, which is the post-acute stuff, for a good solid year after my final quit. And it took me into this second year because I'm in the third, you know, pretty much the third year now. I'm in the 10 months of my third year. Last year, my second year, I was still kind of like, you know, navigating some things and the final recalibration process of my body getting back to normal. I've said it before here. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to make you think that what my process was is what your process will be. Some people don't experience pause at all. You know, like you know, some people don't have any acute withdrawals at all. You know, so everybody is 100% different. But I want to just lay it all out there. And I think me being an extreme case is a good thing to share, because it can, you know, hopefully encourage you if you're in it, and you have to go through it as extreme as I did, then it will encourage you. And also if you are one of the fortunate ones that doesn't have to go through that hardcore of a recovery process, then, you know, that's cool. And so that can be encouraging for you as well. So pause were something that for me, when I got through my acutes, and my most hardcore acutes again lasted for about 2 weeks, and then there was a good few months where it was, you know, Layla was bringing up the boredom. Layla was bringing up the runny nose. For me, it took me a few months for my sleep cycle to, and you guys, it's taken actually a lot longer than that, but like to actually start sleeping more than like a few hours at a time. In those first few months, like that was regulating more. One of the biggest things for me though, when I was in those months afterwards, in those years afterwards, was the anhedonia. And hey Anthony, I'm glad that you're here. Yes, I will share with you in the comments in the end when we're going to be hanging out and chatting. I'll share some support groups that I found. Yeah, so I'll share that with you at the end. Thanks for coming here. I'm gonna, just so you know, I've mentioned it a couple times that I want to get through what I wanted to share, and then I want to hang out and chat with everybody. So I just wanted to welcome you. And guys, if I'm not responding to your comments, like I said, I'm gonna wait until the end, and then when we chill and chat, I will catch up with everybody's comments. So the pause for me, one of the biggest things was anhedonia, and that was a lack of pleasure from anything. And I am a creative gal. I make art and music. I'm very passionate about like my interests. That's how I was before I got on kratom, and that's how I am now. And so to go through anhedonia, it was tough because I lost interest in basically everything. And I didn't feel joy or happiness from anything, pretty much, which is it's really rough. One of the things that I experienced in long term with pause was fatigue. Layla, we were talking about this, and the fatigue lasted a while for me. I had other stuff going on health-wise with my all the weight loss that I had during my kratom addiction and the malnutrition that I was going through. So that was stuff that played into my fatigue. I did have depression, unfortunately, and it was kind of interwoven with these other symptoms because it took on, it wasn't a depression in the sense of just like the general, you know, way that we think about it. It was directly hand in hand with this anhedonia stuff and the fatigue stuff. I was navigating grief too, which was playing into it because I had, you know, in my addiction, I had basically set aside, you know, the grieving process that I had to go through. So that was playing a part in, you know, why I was depressed during that time. I had anxiety for a while, guys. A lot of that, sorry, I'm lagging. A lot of that was, let me catch up. That's so funny. There we go. No, I'm just going to let it catch up. I'm not going to try to move it around. It's making me lose my focus. There we go. A lot of, I see I lost my train of thought. I'm not even going to try to catch it. The anxiety that I went through, well, I caught it, was a lot in part to the malnutrition that I was experiencing. And I found when I was eating right and I really focused on that it really helped with the anxiety. So those are some of the things that I experienced in long-term kratom recovery. And I want to encourage you guys again that, like, no matter what you're feeling and no matter how long it's taking, please hang in there. Because when you start getting into this long-term stuff, for some of us, like what I went through, that can be some of the hardest parts. You know, the first acute stuff, like you're in battle mode, like you're like pushing through it, you're focusing really hard on getting through that initial, you know, part of the process, and you're like focused on it. And for me, I was fighting for my freedom. But when I started to get into those, you know, 6 month, 8 month, year and a half, and I'm still like, oh man, like, you know, I'm still not 100%. Like, that's when you can really be tested. And that's when, like, there are times in the process where you're like, dang, like, you know, did I do permanent damage? Or like, you know, maybe, which I didn't let my mind go there, and we're gonna cover this in a second about what helped. I didn't excuse me, let my mind go to, oh well, you know, maybe a gram would make me feel better. And, you know, but I want to bring it up that for some of us, and that's how we get into relapses and stuff, is that, like, for some of us, when we start hitting these long-term recovery challenges, you know, oh, you know, it's fine. I can take a gram, you know, every once in a while, or I can do it on the weekends or whatever. And so, you know, that's something that it's so important that, like, when you're going through, sorry, I'm readjusting a little bit. When you're going through these parts of the process, that, like, you gotta dig your boot heels in the ground and just stand firm and keep focused, even when it's hard, even when you're super bummed out, even, like, no matter how hard it gets, just keep focusing on, like, the freedom that you will have in the future. And small things, like, even in the most, you know, the gnarliest moments, just focus on little things that you have to be thankful for, and that will divert your attention from, like, oh, this sucks so bad, into, like, you know, positive stuff. Find, you know, little things that you can focus on that bring you joy. And for some of us, like, I'll be straight up with you, I probably wouldn't admit this to a lot of people, but, like, I have no shame, I'm just gonna admit it. I actually I don't even know how I came across this, but I don't even know. I think it wasn't like I didn't search it out, and I sure as heck was not watching it at the time. But I think it just like came across like something on like, you know, somewhere across the internet where I was, where it was talking about like this crazy couple on 90 Day Fiance. And I was in like a really hard part of my recovery process. And they talked about, and this is how I actually found Reddit, you guys. Like I didn't even know what Reddit was. And that's, I've never talked about this because I found the quitting kratom subreddit like way after I quit. But how I actually found Reddit was I saw some stupid thing like, you know, so and so from 90 Day Fiance and this, and I just like for the first time in years, like I actually like laughed. For is freezing. Sorry if it freezes on a weird place. I went on to Reddit for the first time, and let me see, there we go. I went onto the Reddit for the first time, and you guys, I'm not kidding. I was literally sitting in my kitchen, and I'm on this 90 Day Fiance subreddit, something I would never have gotten into in a million years. And I'm just looking at all these memes. I don't even know who those people were on that show, which is the funniest part about it. And I'm like, I'm laughing so hard. I am crying. And this is like during a part of my recovery where like I didn't have much going on. And I was just like much going on to be like, I couldn't find things to be thankful. Like that's how bummed I was about it. But I'm sharing this with you, and I know some people may bust on me for my 90 Day Fiance thing. I know it's garbage, but cut me a break. I literally have no addictions anymore. Maybe not. Actually, I'm not even addicted. I could take it or leave it. But it's like my, you know, I used to like use kratom or like smoke weed to like check out. You laugh harder until I cry off of this. Oh gosh, we should just, I'm gonna do a stream at some point where we are just like, you know, talking about funny stuff, because I think that that would be awesome. And we can just like joke about our kratom addictions and like joke about, oh my gosh, I had a little tear from that, from thinking about 90 Day Fiance, and joke about that. Maybe I can share some memes and stuff, because like that has become like regaining the ability to like, you know, laugh and to you know, how to have like, you know, a sense of like joy, even if it's like laughing at 90 Day Fiance stuff. But the point of what I'm saying is that like in our recovery is just finding little moments, you guys, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard at different times, but finding those little things, you know, looking at memes, you know, it doesn't even need to be just like laughing about stuff. It can be as simple as like looking at a sunrise or a sunset. It can be as simple as like, you know, being like, all right, I know I feel like crap right now. I know I'm in pain. I know it was hard to get up today. I don't have anything to look forward to. I made a mess of my life because of kratom. I have all these, you know, relationships that have been affected, and, you know, but like little things. I did the dishes. I took a shower. I have a roof over my head. I woke up. I'm breathing, even if I don't really want to be right now in some ways. But finding those little things that we can hold on to, because if we get sucked into that, you know, negative feedback echo chamber that can go on in our minds, or in that like negative vortex that we can be sucked down into during this process, it's not going to be good for us. So I want to segue with that into what helped me. And I'm going to talk about some different things and share some supplements that worked. I'll just do the supplements right now. I want to put this out there too. I thought about, I think I'll make a community post too. But it's been on my heart, and I am going to say it right now that it's not going to be possible for everyone that contacts me. But I wanted to put this out there that if you are in a place right now where you're struggling with your finances, and you need a little help with supplements that could help you in your it doesn't matter, you don't have to be, getting off of kratom right this second. You can take these supplements while you're still in your addiction. But if you're in a place right now where you're struggling financially, contact me in the email in my bio and share with me what your situation is. You don't have to go into a lot of detail if you don't want to, but share a little bit with where you're at. And I like I said, I can't help everybody, but I want to try to help some people, sending you some supplements that will help you. So I want to get into what supplements I used during my withdrawal process, and I also that I still use to this day. So I'm a really big advocate of, first and foremost, that our diets are really important. So before I get into the actual supplements, I want to share that first, that food is the best source of nutrients that are easily recognized and absorbed by our body. Food is what nourishes our bodies, and with supplements, a lot of them are synthetic and they're isolated, which means that the supplements themselves, they isolate and these synthetic vitamins and minerals and whatnot, and it's harder for our bodies to recognize and then to absorb into them. So a lot of them too, when taken in the wrong amounts, can cause either the like lockout, meaning like you won't absorb another nutrient if you take another one. Sorry, I'm freezing. And so first and foremost, diet is so important. One of the things that really sucks about kratom is that it really wreaks havoc on our digestive systems, and we are not able to, when we start getting into especially larger amounts, we're not able to absorb our nutrients from our food a lot of times. And I don't know if there is a relationship between certain nutrients and the absorption of them with kratom addiction, because I've heard now a few different situations where people have nutrient deficiencies after their kratom addiction. So I'm not really sure if it's the same for everybody. But for me, I ended up finding out that I was severely anemic, which means that I was completely deficient in iron. And guys don't really experience this as much, but for women, it can be a serious issue. This can, anemia can play into fatigue. So that was something that when I really started to address this, and I really diligently focused on like my diet, because iron supplements are really hard for our bodies to absorb. And so I've completely healed my anemia, and continue to maintain really good iron levels because of what I eat. And so for the gals out there that are coming out of kratom addiction that are also experiencing fatigue, guys and gals, I've noticed we lose the color in our skin and in our faces especially. We become really washed out and pale when in kratom addiction. But for gals, that could be also a sign of anemia, as it was for me. Like my lips had no color to them. My skin had no color to them. Hair loss can happen across the board for anybody, regardless of if you're anemic or not, but that's also a symptom of anemia. So when I went into kratom recovery, the first thing that I really focused on was healing my gut. And how I did that was I eliminated, again, this is just what I did. You don't have to do this. And I also know that this is hardcore and this is not easy, but this is what I did. When I went into my kratom recovery, I eliminated all grains, all sugars, and so I basically ate, and I still basically just eat meat, vegetables, fruit, all like animal-based foods, so like eggs, seafood, anything that's like from an animal, I eat it. And I still don't eat any grains. I dabble, not in an addictive sense, because I have been addicted to sugar before, and now it like literally makes me so sick I can't have it. But like for the first time in 2 years this summer, when I went on a vacation, I had like some ice cream and it made me like feel super sick, and I got a raging headache afterwards. But like I'll have a little bit of yeah, Angelo, possibility of heavy metals with kratom too. Yes, yes. I'm not going to get sidetracked by comments, but I just wanted to let you know that that was something I try, because I got really, yes, dude, there's all sorts. Dude, I found dog hair in my kratom. I have found human hair, y'all. I hope and pray it was a beard hair, but it looked like a pube. I am not kidding you. And it was out of a freshly opened bag. I am not exaggerating. Who knows what is in this stuff? But with heavy metals, I used to get like super like whacked out on like the whole like detox, you know, state of mind. Like I because my health was crumbling, and so I was like looking at anything. I did have my amalgam fillings replaced. Actually, when I was in my kratom addiction, I was like a year into my kratom addiction when I had them replaced. And I am one that believes that our bodies are designed to heal themselves and to detox themselves. And I also believe that we live in the world that we live in is polluted. We are constantly being exposed to toxic things through metals, plastics, things in our environments. And I used to get kind of like tweaked out on like, you know, the whole like, oh, I have to detox. Like I was so close to doing the what is that dude's name? I'm even forgetting it right now. Oh, I was about to say Shulgin, but that's the guy who like created MDMA. It's not him. I'm spacing it right now. The guy, there's a guy who does this whole heavy metal detox protocol, and I was this close to doing it. I was this close to doing it where you know that it's this guy that does man, what is his name? It's this guy that does heavy metal detox protocol where you take it's like a chelating protocol. I'm completely spacing it right now. I had a friend that was really into the whole like heavy metal thing, like detox thing, and she did it, and she was like, you know, you have to do this, you have to do this. And I'm so glad, hey Danny, I'm so glad I didn't do it, because the whole like chelating aspect of these supplements that are used in this heavy metal protocol, they basically strip your body of minerals too. Yeah, it was literally like divine. Hey Anthony, excuse me. Yes, kratom can cause hair loss for some of us. I'm going to talk more about that in the end when we chat. I have a whole live stream about it actually. Excuse me. Excuse me. So, yeah, so the whole heavy metal thing, see you guys, I'm getting caught up in the comments again. I don't want this to be a super duper long live stream. Like I went for 3 hours the other day, and I didn't even like think that I was just like hanging out and like just chatting in the comments and stuff. So I want to get into what I need to go over, and then I'm going to chat with everybody, as I've said a million times, but I keep getting caught up. So, yes, eating is so important. And before I go into supplements, what we eat is so important. Our digestive systems get wrecked from kratom. How I helped mine, I found that a bunch of probiotics, I did a bunch of crazy probiotics, they did not work for me. And what did work for me was, which I didn't think I was going to start with this, but I will, is digestive enzymes. I don't know if that's backwards for you too. It's backwards for me in this. Yeah, kimchi's a great source. I was doing like all sorts of stuff. I was doing like raw probiotic, like this company that I love that does EM1, which is this they're microorganisms. I used to use it on my weed plants when I was growing weed back in the day, but they use it for gardening. And they did and I'm not recommending this because I found that the probiotics weren't the best for me. Come on, lag. There we go. The probiotics weren't the best for me. What was best for me, and if probiotics work for you, awesome. And I definitely think, Layla, you said that kimchi is good. I definitely think that food-based probiotics are good. But dude, like for me, I don't know if anybody else is gonna go through this. This is a symptom I should have talked about in kratom recovery and withdrawals but for me, I wasn't able to tolerate so many foods. I still to this day am not able to tolerate a lot of foods. And anything, I've just been able to start eating it again, and it's been awesome because I love this kind of stuff. Anything in the cruciferous family, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, anything like that, I just could not handle, even if it was fermented. And fermented foods, I was trying them, and like what would happen is I would eat them and my stomach would literally, like, bloat was like putting it lightly, like it would like literally just like fill up full of like air. Like it was so painful too whenever I would eat something that like did not agree with me. And my diet was so simple at first, and I had to go through a whole trial and error process because I was not able to eat so many things for so long. But what was a game changer for me were digestive enzymes. And as we get older, we naturally lose the ability. Our body naturally makes digestive enzymes, but as we get older, we don't make as many. And then when you factor in kratom addiction, you're putting in like, ounces for some of us. I was putting in like tons, like 40 to 60 grams. I forget how many ounces that is right now, but like ounces of plant matter through my system, and it wrecked my digestion. So like the whole production of these enzymes that I needed to like even be able to digest my food, because you need these enzymes to be able to break down your food and to be able to get the nutrients out of your food. So this was super crucial for me. I started out with just probiotics, but then when I learned about these digestive enzymes, I was like, all right, cool. And this was what was a game changer for me, because it helped me to start to be able to digest my food, because I wasn't even able to like digest food really. I was having all these issues with like, horrible bloating and like just like either stuff moving through me too fast or too slow. Don't want to be too TMI. I'm probably going to do a whole video about this on its own with a TMI warning, because it's something that needs to be discussed, because our food and like being able to digest it and nourish our bodies is integral in our recovery and in our healing process. So I've tried multiple different kinds of these digestive enzymes, and there are ones that are super expensive, but these ones are affordable, and they're just the Now brand. And yeah, so this is what's really helped. And thank God in the past like 6 months especially, I've been noticing such a difference where like I'm able to eat a little bit of dairy. I'm able to eat those vegetables that I love that I wasn't able to digest before. So this was a big factor. Moving on to the Holy Grail, y'all. Magnesium is so awesome. It's so awesome in general, but like when you're in kratom, addiction, quitting, short-term acute, long-term recovery process, this will change your life. If you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with depression, any sort of like mood thing, any sort of physical thing. Yeah, Layla says you take it at night. I take it at night as well. And I actually, depending on like what I have going on, Layla, I know you deal with chronic pain stuff. I deal with chronic pain stuff, which is part of the reason why I ended up on kratom. And magnesium is just so amazing. There are different kinds that I've tried. This in particular, the magnesium calm, I've found that nothing really compares to it as far as like the calming effects of it. And so I take this. I was taking this the wrong way. I mean, it still works the way that I was taking it, but I actually found out that you are supposed to use warm water and put your amount in there and then let it fizz until the fizz has ended, and then you drink it when the fizz has ended, because I guess because it's magnesium citrate, and like when it's fizzy. Hey Kim, I'm glad you can make it. I get everything pretty much on Amazon. Let me look at my subs over here. Yeah, I get everything on Amazon. So yeah, so taking this, there's, yeah, you can get it on Walmart, Layla says, but I found that, price-wise, I don't know how Walmart's price is, but, in Whole Foods it's super taxed, super expensive. And, so, this one I get on Amazon. Letting everybody know again, if you just joined us, if you're in a position where you are not able to afford supplements, contact me. My email's in the bio, and I may be able to help you. So yeah, Amazon is probably cheaper. Yeah, so so this magnesium calm has been crucial. When I was going through my first jump after quitting, and I was in my acute withdrawals, and then my long-term recovery, and now, you know, still to this day, almost 3 years now, magnesium has been my tried and true. I gave up weed, I gave up coffee, I gave up all the things that, hi, okay, heard about it twice today, think I should get it. Yeah, Kim, dude, it's a game changer for real. I was gonna say that, like, these things that I used to look for like, you know, oh, kratom's gonna make me happy, oh, you know, weed is gonna calm me down. Looking forward to this at the end of a long day, and like I have such a like a positive reaction from it, where like I just get super calm. I get kind of like, I don't know, like what's the right word, like just like giggly in a way, and like it makes me feel so good. It enhances the quality of my sleep so much. If I don't, I haven't forgotten to take it, because I literally like, it's like I can't forget. Like I look forward to it, and it makes me feel so good. But there was one time, I think like maybe 6 months ago or something, that I was waiting for my next shipment to come of it. And I had some magnesium, just like pills supplement, and I took those, and it did not do the same thing, and so it definitely affected the quality of my sleep. So it's awesome. And what I want to talk about that goes hand in hand with magnesium is vitamin D. And actually what goes hand in hand with that as well is vitamin K2. And most importantly though, to talk about first is vitamin D has been really good for a lot of different things for me, and you have to take it with magnesium because vitamin D requires magnesium to be absorbed. And I was talking about in the beginning how like food is the best way to get our nutrients, but to get enough magnesium to make a difference from food, it's really tough. And the same thing with vitamin D, same thing with a lot of these. And when we're in a kratom addiction and recovery, we need bigger amounts of those things. But with food, because all of it is like, you know, it's like the perfect mixture of nutrients, we don't have to worry about this. But with supplements, especially like this is a synthetic supplement, this is a synthetic supplement, I think mostly all of them that we're talking about today are going to be, they can create like lockouts of other nutrients. So like if you take vitamin D on its own, without any magnesium, it requires magnesium to be absorbed and utilized, and it will pull magnesium stores out of your body, and it will then in turn deplete your magnesium levels, and it can cause a lot of bad stuff to go on. Yay, Angela. I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Like the video, it will help more people to see it. Oh, thank you. You guys, real quick, I don't want to get sidetracked about the comments, but it's not about the numbers. It's not, yeah, I know I want people to see it for sure. So I definitely, you know, thank you, Angelo. And I do hope that it does cross people's paths, but it's not about the numbers. But I know what you're saying, Angelo, that like, my heart is with this, that it reaches people that need it, because when I was in my addiction, I didn't have anything like this. Somebody was asking about support groups a moment ago. You know, I didn't know about anything like this when I was in my addiction. So yes, Angelo, I thank you that you're encouraging people to like it so that it does hopefully get seen by more. So I appreciate that, but it's not about the numbers, and I do believe that all of us end up here for a reason. And this community that's forming and growing too, which I never expected. It's amazing. It's amazing to have this place that's for all of us, because this isn't my channel, this is our channel. No matter if there's, you know, 2 people or there's, you know, 1 million people, that like this is a place for all of us to come no matter where we're at in our process, and, you know, hang out with each other, share our experiences. You know, kratom addiction and the recovery, you know, the withdrawals and like all aspects of recovery, a lot of that is swept underneath the rug, you know, by either kratom advocates that don't want this information to get out there because of the risk of, you know, kratom getting scheduled, or, you know, just different factors. So like a lot of us, you know, when we end up in kratom addiction, like we didn't expect this when we got on it. So I was really isolated in my addiction and recovery, and I didn't know that any of this was going on for anybody. So I want to, you know, I want to share that this place is a safe place for all of us, that we can come, and you don't have to be, you know, trying to quit right now. You can just come and hang out, and you know, we can share our experiences, and we can encourage and uplift each other through this process. So yeah, thank you, Angelo. I appreciate you, man, or woman, whoever you are. I call gals man too, as I've said before. So yeah, so the vitamin D is important to take with magnesium, and there's vitamin D2 and D3, but D3 is what is easily absorbed by the body. And it's also important to take this with something that's like it's a fat soluble vitamin, and this one in particular, which is a really great deal on Amazon, it's called Nature Wise, and it's literally a year's supply for I think like $15 or something, and it's 5,000 IUs, which is a good amount to be at. It has olive oil in the capsule. which isn't enough for, I don't think enough fat for it to be utilized fully. So taking it with something that has a fat source to it is really good. What goes hand in hand with vitamin D, which I only added this at the end. And I didn't add this because of a reason that you think that you would. Because it's found that K2 and D3 work together, and that they help, K2 helps with the absorption of D. That wasn't why I actually incorporated it into my regimen. Why I incorporated it is because it's actually recommended for people who have like cardiac issues, and that people who have heart disease, because it helps to K2, it's a vitamin K2 that provides superior bioavailable form of K to support strong bones and cardiovascular health. I don't, like, whatever the bottle says, I don't even believe all that stuff. But basically, Angelo, it helps with the absorption of D. But the reason why I take it is what I was getting into, is that it helps to clear up plaque in the arteries, which wasn't why I was interested in it. Why I specifically use it and have incorporated it is because it inhibits the growth of, just like plaque in your arteries, it inhibits the growth of plaque on your teeth. And I don't get caught up into like the claims that a lot of supplements give. I look at like real experiences, and then I decide like, okay, is this good for me? Or, you know, is what, has it worked for other people? And is this something that I want to try for myself? And then I also look at my own experience with it. So then I make the decision like, okay, is this a supplement I want to incorporate and take? And so I started taking K2 more recently, a few months ago, because of how it, come on, lag, because of how it helps to inhibit plaque on teeth. And that's something that I mentioned that my kratom addiction did, was because I didn't have this before, where I had so much, ooh, sorry, I hit that. Let me wipe off the screen now because it's probably dirty. I had so much plaque buildup on my teeth after my kratom addiction, because you need like, dry mouth causes plaque buildup. And because of kratom, you know, I was so like dehydrated, and I literally had dry mouth. I also, you know, was a big weed smoker for 15 years. But even when I was like smoking a lot of weed, like before the kratom came, I never had anything like this on my teeth. And so I went to the dentist after I quit kratom last year. I was just doing this whole like rebuilding my life thing, and like catching up on things that I had let go during my addiction. And that was one of the things that I invested a bunch of money and time into, was getting my teeth, like, you know, back in order, going through a deep cleaning, which sucked, and like got a professional whitening, which was awesome. And now it's like, now I just am super hyper vigilant about like taking care of my teeth, because I never want that to happen again. And my diet, because I don't eat any grains or any sugars, well, I have fruit sugar and a little bit of honey, but I don't have any refined sugar. A lot of that helps with, you know, inhibiting that like sort of build up on your teeth. But I incorporated the K2 specifically for that, and it helps with the absorption of D. I do want to mention that I take all of these at night. I take my magnesium calm, and then I take my vitamin D and K2 all together, and I have it before I eat dinner, because like I said, D is best absorbed with a fat source. And so when I eat dinner, I'm always having some sort of a meat. I eat a pretty high fat, meaning not like, you know, Crisco or donuts, but I eat higher fat meats, and I eat butter and like different stuff like that, which has helped tremendously with so many aspects of my health, which some people don't believe that saturated animal fats and butter is good for you, but that's a whole other video, which I won't get into because they actually are. But it's all how I feel about diet, how I feel about, you know, it's all like faith, religion, politics, diet, all that kind of stuff. What I believe is what I believe, and I'm not here to push that on anybody. What you believe is totally cool with me. I accept whatever you're into. This is just what's worked for me. So I'm sharing my experience. Here's another really important thing is liposomal vitamin C. I started taking vitamin C before I quit kratom, and I didn't even know, and I was taking just regular vitamin C, like ascorbic acid type stuff. And also camu powder is a berry that's from, I think it's from like Peru and other places maybe in South America, but it's known as the highest vitamin C, like a source of the highest vitamin C, natural vitamin C. So I was taking that. I still do take some camu because I don't drink coffee anymore. And I found that in place of coffee, vitamin C sources really help to give me, yay, Dirk! I was hoping that you were going to come. Tapering about 25% down every 2 weeks sounds good. I think it comes down to what works for you. I did an initial really big cut, and then I cut down about 1 gram per month for the rest of, I did a long taper. So 25% compared to what I did, I think that that's probably going to be a really good taper, because for me at first it was pretty rough. I basically cut my dose in half. Not basically, I did cut my dose in half. And so it was definitely, it was hard at first. And then I took 1 gram off of, it was 1 gram off of each dose, excuse me. I was taking 4 7-gram doses per day. And then I took off 1 gram each dose about once per month. So it was about a 4-gram cut each time. And each time it was, it took me a couple weeks to catch my bearings. And Dirk, I'm stoked that you made it. I'm gonna, I said it a few times, at 8 grams per 24 hours. Yes, I think that that's a really good plan. Dirk, I keep getting sidetracked by the comments. So at the end, I'm gonna hang out with everybody, and I look forward to chatting with you at the end. What I wanna to share about vitamin C is that the liposomal, which is, I learned about this actually after, because I was doing those other sources of vitamin C, and I actually learned about this when I finally found the Quitting Kratom subreddit months after I quit. And I found out about this whole liposomal vitamin C scene, which is liposomal. It's the type of supplement it is. It's easier absorbed by your body, and it like literally gets into the cells of your body. And so vitamin C, otherwise you basically just like pee it out, a lot of it. And so this liposomal version of it is a lot easier to absorb. And countless amounts of people have had really incredible results from liposomal vitamin C, myself included. When I first started taking it, and this happens for a lot of other people that I've heard of, that when I first started taking it, that like I literally felt like euphoric, and I felt like I had this like energy. Layla, if you're still on, ooh, come on, Layla, if you're still on here, this, like, for my energy levels has been just an absolute game changer. People talk about, which I have also done, and I've played around with my dosage. People talk about mega dosing this stuff, especially when you're approaching your quit, and then as you're going through withdrawals. Mega dosing this has really helped a lot of people. I didn't specifically do this because I didn't find it until months after, but once I started incorporating it, it was like amazing. The really incredible, like almost euphoric, like boundless energy. It only lasted, those effects only lasted for maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks of taking it, and now my body's regulated to it. But I definitely noticed a difference all around, even after my body has like gotten over it. And I think that reaction maybe happens because, you know, we are probably deficient. And there's something about vitamin C. I do get actually that reaction because I told you I take vitamin C instead of coffee. Not the liposomal. I will either have citrus fruit if I really need a boost. The Whole Foods that I work at sells this. This stuff is so expensive. I always cringe when I buy it, but they have this fresh squeezed orange juice. And I know a lot of it, you know, it's obviously the fruit sugar is a part of it, but I do incorporate fruit in my diet now. I didn't all the time when I first started, but I do now, and I use it as an energy source. And when I have this fresh squeezed orange juice, like, I noticed some of the same benefits that I was getting from using this in the beginning, where I get a noticeable mood boost. I get really clean energy, and I don't get any crashes from it. So vitamin C is a really valuable tool, even when you're in addiction. I've heard of people using vitamin C sources as potentiators for kratom. So that can actually be a benefit, that as you're tapering, if you use, I wouldn't use just like pasteurized orange juice, because that can be, I mean, you're getting vitamin C from it, but a lot of like the living like benefits of like the fresh fruit you're losing when it's pasteurized. And fresh squeezed orange juice is expensive, so I understand that. But even adding like fresh squeezed lemon juice to your doses, people have found, and I don't know if it's actually potentiating the kratom, meaning making it stronger. Maybe they're actually finding that that the effect from the vitamin C is what they're feeling and feel good from. Because I was adding camu vitamin C powder that I was talking about a second ago to my doses before. And when I was like tapering down, I would notice as well that I would get these really positive effects from it. So that's something to keep in mind as you're tapering. And then when you do your final jump, mega dosing means, I don't know exactly what the dosage that people are taking. I could probably figure it out, but for me, I have taken, this is 1,500 milligrams, and I've taken up to 4 of these at a time. I haven't taken more, but I'm sure you can. Too much vitamin C is never a bad thing. They literally do vitamin C infusions, like IV type stuff that I've heard about, that like you can take like such large amounts of it. And as with other nutrients, like especially the synthetic nutrients, it cannot be, you know, the best for you. Vitamin C, you can really go super, super high. So, and that gives you the ability to, you know, when you're going through your process, if you want to take a little bit more and see how it makes you feel and see if there's any benefits to it, this is a safe thing to do it with. This is on Amazon. It's the best price. There's a ton of them, 200 capsules in here. So this stuff is really great. I think it's like 13 or 15 bucks. Lastly, I love iodine. I was sketched out about it at first because I thought that it could cause thyroid damage, but I have seen a lot of benefits from taking iodine. And this is the Lugal's iodine 2% solution, and I take 3 drops of this a day. I've heard of some people only taking 1 or 2. I've heard of some people taking more. But iodine is really hard to get in our diets, and I'm not down with like iodized salt. I'm not into like that kind of thing. So this is a really good way to get iodine. It can be used topically, but I prefer to take it internally. And you can have a lot of bad symptoms from iodine deficiency. Hair loss is part of it. I've even heard that iodine deficiency can cause social anxiety, which I thought was interesting. Not sure if I necessarily 100% believe it, but I thought that was interesting. And so I take iodine every day as well. Those are the supplements that I use. I know that everybody is different, but like all around, I think that all of these have benefits for everyone. Some of the things I just want to go over real quick before we start hanging out, and I'll have about maybe 20 minutes or so to hang out, and then I'm going to have to wrap things up. I want to share what else has helped me. Eating well, I talked about that to begin with, so we don't need to go into it more. Eliminating caffeine. I know this is a tough one. I didn't eliminate it right when I was quitting kratom because I couldn't like tag team all the addictions at once. But I eliminated it about 3 months after I quit. And I did a whole video, I think it's maybe a couple videos ago if you want to check it out on my channel, that I had this whole experience with kratom and coffee and adrenal fatigue, which causes a lot of symptoms that it's its own kind of thing separate from just regular fatigue. I go into that in this video. And eliminating coffee was not, it wasn't fun in some ways. Sorry, I'm lagging. Come on. It wasn't fun in some ways, but, and sorry, I'm getting kind of stuffy. If you hear me and I'm starting to sound kind of stuffy, I apologize about that. Eliminating coffee was not fun or easy, but it was really good for this process. It helped a lot with anxiety. It helped a lot with sleep. It helped a lot with just regaining my health because there's so many different aspects to coffee that are not really great for our bodies, and I don't need to get into all of them now, but that's something that really helped me. I also eliminated weed. I was a weed advocate, huge cannabis advocate. I worked with it. I grew it. I worked on the West Coast trimming it for years. And it was such a huge part of my life. And that's a whole other realm of stuff to go into down the line. But eliminating it during my recovery process. I didn't eliminate it at first. I eliminated it around the same time that I eliminated coffee. And I will interweave it with that eliminating all of these things that I was using and that I was addicted to was integral to my recovery process. We talked about it earlier, this whole homeostasis and this natural balance that my body needed to reach after my kratom addiction was being affected and would have been affected if I continued using these other substances. Those things would really hold up me getting back to this health and this balance that I am at now. And so I understand that eliminating all substances, I eliminated sugar too. I eliminated, grains, which took out all breads and like that kind of thing. And I know that this is hardcore. And I'm not saying everybody should do it. I'm just sharing what worked for me. And the benefits to it, once you get through the process of it, the benefits are absolutely incredible. Because I want to go into also what helped me was I did what's called a dopamine detox. And if you haven't heard about what this is, I encourage you to look it up. Basically, in a nutshell, you take away all sources of dopamine from your life. Like, it's naturally it's a neurochemical that's responsible for happiness, contentment, motivation. That's in our brains, that's naturally made in our brains. So you can't eliminate your dopamine in your brain, but you can eliminate things that give it that create a large dopamine response. What that means is kratom, drugs of any sort, caffeine, sugar, social media, let me see, because it, like, any your brain is going to make it when you sit down for a meal, or even I read that, like, your brain will make it like when you think of a glass of water when you're thirsty. So it's going to be naturally there, but these huge sources of it, what happens is, again, this balance that we're trying to reach, this homeostasis that our brain and our body are naturally trying to get to after our addiction. By doing this dopamine detox, what we're doing is we're eliminating all of these sources that give our brains and our bodies these huge hits of dopamine. And so what goes on, and it's not easy, obviously, I mean, eliminating all of these things, it's not easy. But what happens is it allows our brains and our bodies to rewire and recalibrate into a new normal, a new homeostasis, a new balance, a new, like, baseline of health. And then what happens is super sweet, and in my opinion, it's 100% worth it. And that is that we will get dopamine. Our brains will create dopamine, and we will have a joy and a pleasure response from small things again, which is what we lose to our addictions, and which is what gets hijacked through things like even like social media and sugar and caffeine. So what happens is that when we have completely gone through this process of, it's a detox, it doesn't have to last forever. I'm very careful still to this day. I did this, at this point years ago, and I still to this day am super careful about things that give me that hardcore dopamine response. Because I know that, like, I know if I get cracked out on social media, that it's going to, it's going to lead to nothing but trouble. I know if I get, all like, into a coffee addiction again, that it's going to lead to nothing but trouble. And so the simple joy, it is, you earn these things when you go through this process, when you eliminate all of this stuff. And like, dude, I even stopped listening to music for a year. I'm a musician. There were other reasons why I did that I go into in some of my videos, but it was part of the process for me. I'm not saying everybody should do it, but like, when I started to like go on with life, like, dude, the joy, the simple joy, and I mean the simplest joys. I don't mean, sitting down and eating a piece of chocolate cake. Oh, I eliminated chocolate too, P.S. I mean, I live right on Lake Michigan. I mean, going into the lake. It was like a euphoric experience. The first time, it was actually the first time in my recovery process. I was a year and a half in, okay? I had pretty hardcore pause. And like, I was grasping onto those little things, like I was telling you, to like hold on to and to focus on, to be thankful for, when I wasn't getting real joy. And I had this, like, I will remember it for the rest of my life, and I am still so thankful for it, that I went swimming in the lake. Our water here stays pretty cold, throughout the spring, and it was the first part of the season where it was warm enough to go in.
And I had this euphoric experience. And like, I remember I was like sitting there and talking to my husband, and it was so weird because like, it was like the joy was foreign to me. Like I had not felt that amount of joy from just like, you know, anything really, and in years, because in kratom addiction, all I felt joy from was kratom in the beginning. And so I was literally just like beside myself. And like it was weird because I kind of like, I was like, I started feeling like I was unworthy of it and like I didn't deserve it for some reason. That's how foreign it felt. And it was this beautiful experience where like I was talking to my husband. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just had this like, it was like this like avalanche, this overflowing of just like gratitude. And like it was like the joy from like going swimming. Like I just started to like all of a sudden see my life and like, oh my gosh, I'm getting covered in chills thinking about it. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so thankful for where we live. I'm so thankful for, you know, we were about to order food for lunch, and I'm like, I'm so thankful for food, this food that we're about to order. I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for all of this stuff. And like it was the most beautiful experience. And like now I'm able to it like that was the first time that I experienced that. But then as like time went on, like those moments became more and more and more. And now I go through every day, and like even if I'm dog tired, I just worked you know, I'm at Whole Foods working in the kitchen. And you know, Thanksgiving is like our like grind time. I just went back to work. So I haven't, you know, been doing it for years, but for my department, for the team that I work on, Thanksgiving is the busiest time of year. They literally have like 1,000 or more catering orders. So it's super, super busy. I don't even know how many hours I worked this past week. That's why I had to postpone our prayer group. But even, you know, I am so sleep deprived. I was concerned because I don't drink coffee anymore. And this is the first time going into something like this, not drinking coffee. But like, it went so well. I had my fresh squeezed orange juice, like I was telling you. It went so well. I had the best work days. I love the people that I work with. I love working with food. It was awesome. But like, dog tired, I had these moments of just like, I am so thankful for this. It took me a little while to get back to work, which I've shared in my other videos. And like, I just have moments of like, I can't even describe it as anything less than like bliss, to be completely honest with you. I have pure bliss from just the simplest moments. It is purely 100% simple joy. And I'm sharing this with you, and I'm elaborating on this because I wanted to share one last thing about what helps me, and then I'll end with that and hang out with you guys for a little bit. But like, I want to elaborate on this because I like, my heart, as I've said many times, is to encourage you and uplift you. And you don't have to do things the way that I do things. You can do things the way that you want to do things or that are best for you. But know that it is possible, because I had a very gnarly, very rugged recovery process. And to now be in this point where I can feel pure bliss from like, you know, walking down the street, or from like, you know, I was so antisocial and avoided everybody for so long. And now I'll just smile at strangers on the street, and like they will smile back at me, and I will have such joy from it. I have such joy from like connecting with all of you guys, and like, you know, sharing what I've been through and where I'm at and what's helped me. And like, I can't even articulate. Like, I'm feeling a moment of that too, where it's just like bliss, like interwoven with like gratitude and just like a humility. I'm humbled by all of this, and I am so completely thankful. And I thank each and every one of you, because it is just proof that like I made it out, and that you can make it out too. I don't know if I have any pictures of what I looked like in my addiction, but I really want to share that with you all, because like you see who I am now and stuff, but like you have no idea. Like I was like barely 90 pounds, skin and bones, like no color in my face. Like I have bags under my eyes because it's just my genes, and I'm pretty much 40 years old, so I'm always going to have some bags under my eyes, but like my eyes were completely sunken in my addiction, and I was a shadow of myself. And like, so I really, I want to try to dig up some pictures of that and like share it with you guys. The last thing real quick before I start chatting is that patience is integral to this process. Patience is something that I had to truly cultivate in my recovery process. This is not a linear process. There is not a angles. I'm not into this lagging anymore. So my pit stains. Nice. Sorry. It's gotten so much warmer here in Chicago, strangely, these past few days. So sorry about that if you saw it. Whatever. It's part of being a human. So patience is crucial. You know, like I know it's hard, and I know that we want a defined time frame to this. I 100% get it. I always have people saying to me, I heard it's 3 days. I heard it's, you know, it's this many days. For you, it was 2 weeks. How long was it for you? And I know that we want to find a definitive time frame to all of this, but there is not going to be one. And true patience, and I mean like real, like long suffering patience, where we are going through pain, we are going through suffering, long suffering. It is a virtue, and it is something that like is connected with patience. This is something that is making you a better person. And I know it's rough. We're used to going on Amazon Prime, having everything right away, putting stuff in the microwave, going online and, pushing, whatever in, putting whatever in, and getting all this stuff like immediately. And this process is not like that. And there's going to be no, amount of time that you can like really hold on to. But it's so important to just dig your boot heels in, like I said, into this, and just set your sights on the freedom that's to come. I thought of something that's really important that I have to mention real quick as well. I'm going to make a video about this. I've said that like 5 times this past live stream, but this is something that's super crucial, and you may not want to hear it. Strict abstinence, okay? Strict abstinence is what has been integral to my recovery process. And that means no kratom under any circumstances ever again. And I know that it's easy to think, oh, well, I'm just going to keep that zip of kratom, that ounce of kratom stashed away for, if something happens. Or, oh, I'm just going to take a half a gram or a gram to, whatever. But, my marriage fell apart. Psyched substances thing, that I want to go into a whole, like, I want to unpack relapse at some point, because I just saw dude's video called I Relapsed on Psyched Substances channel. And this is his, I don't know, like 3rd, 4th relapse now. And, it's always been because, he's having relationship problems or whatever. And so under any circumstances, you guys, your dog dies, your mom dies, your dad dies, you lose your job, you lose your house, like anything, like strict abstinence. And I'm not preaching here. Like if you think that you want to dabble again, that is completely up to you. But what will carry you through this is if you make this pact inside of yourself and you say, you know what, F that. I am not going back to that life. I don't care. I don't care how good it made me feel or how much I think it helped me during this time. Under no circumstances am I ever going back to this. and strict abstinence is one of the things that has really helped me. I haven't drank alcohol in 13 years. It's because of strict abstinence. I will never drink alcohol again in my life. I can say that without even flinching. I will never take kratom again in my life. I can say that without flinching. I will never smoke weed again in my life. I can say that without flinching. So strict abstinence is so crucial. And when you make that pact inside of yourself, it's something too that when you do this and you stand firm in yourself and in you know what you're about, that like builds character. All this stuff builds character. But when you say I'm not going to do something and you don't do it, that builds character and that builds strength inside of yourself, and that makes you a better person. So that's the last thing that I want to share, because I didn't put it on my list, and I wanted to share it and I wanted to emphasize it, because it is, out of anything, I feel like, I mean, all this stuff has its own value and importance, but abstinence, strict abstinence, and get hardcore about it, man. Be like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Even if it creeps into your mind and it seems enticing, no, I'm not doing it. Is super important. So, okay. That's what I wanted to share. Oh man, I'm trying to like do all these different angles so that we don't lag. Come on. Here we go. Okay. So I'm gonna take a drink of water. Sorry, I'm getting kind of stuffy, like I said, if you hear it. That was awesome to be able to share with everybody. I don't know who all's still here, but I'm stoked, even if you're not here anymore, that you stopped by for a little bit. And hey, Angelo. Yeah, man. Yeah, I am a songwriter. Mostly, I play guitar, keys. I have some of my music here on my channel, and yes, I've been playing. I've loved music my whole life. I've been playing it my whole life, and yeah, but I love to write mostly, and so music became a vehicle for like the words of the songs that I would write. So that's what my passion is songwriting. But yes, I do. Do you play any music, or do you like music? I'm gonna go back up. Let's see. Yeah, I actually played a little bit of music on my on one of my prayer groups, one of our prayer groups. Excuse me, because it's ours. I played a little bit of music. I haven't mentioned it though, and it doesn't matter because it's a long ways away. But I got COVID a couple months ago, and my I just have been, you hearing me like always clearing my throat, and I'm still kind of stuffy right now, but all right, lag, funny face to lag on. I haven't fully gotten my like I still have this like chest congestion, so my my singing hasn't been the best. And so I played a little bit of music on in our prayer group a few weeks ago, and I really want to continue to do that. Dirk, I'm stoked you're here, man. I know that God is helping me today. Your chat was the first thing that was on when I turned my phone on. Yay, praise God, dude. Like, I when people say that they ended up here in these streams because it's coming into their feed, I'm so stoked to hear that, because I've shared it that I really hope that it can reach people who need it. And I shared before that when I was in the depths of my kratom addiction, like a coping mechanism for me was just to just sit on YouTube and watch videos. And so I feel really honored and blessed to be able to come into this space and like come back to where, you know, where I was in when I was in the hard parts of my addiction, and to shine light into that place. And the bio of my channel is I'm here to shine light into the darkness that is kratom addiction, and to support those getting free from it. And that pretty much sums it up, that like it, you know, that's what I'm here to do. That's like, you know, what God has brought me here to do. You're a blessing. Thanks for these videos, dude. Thank you. You guys are blessing. You all, like, it all is a huge blessing. And I'm so, like I shared before, I'm so honored. I'm so humbled. I am so thankful. And this isn't like for me. This isn't for my glory or, you know, my glorification. This is for all of you, and this is God working through me, because when I came back to Christ, my kratom addiction is how I came back to Christ. And I know I said we're not going to talk about too much faith-based stuff, but it's almost impossible not to talk about it. Amen, brother. Yes. Because they go hand in hand. Like, God used my kratom addiction to bring me back to him, because I spent 20 years in new age beliefs and in all sorts of like goofy stuff. Like, I may, you know, love Jesus, but I'm a hippie. And not in the traditional sense, but like I grew up traveling around the country, following bands. I'm a musician. I got really wrapped up in like, you know, like hippie new age beliefs for a really long time. And I've loved God since I was little, and had a personal like relationship with God since I was little, but I, you know, got really caught up into other things. And so God used my kratom addiction to draw me back to him. And when I gave my life to Christ again, I said, you know, use me. You know, it says in Isaiah, here I am, Lord, use me. And it was in that same way that like I was just like, God, like, you know, because I wasn't functioning as a person. Like, I was not leaving the house. I was sick. I was tired. I was skin and bones. Like, my life was put up completely on hold by my addiction. And I said, like, God, use me. And it's such a blessing, and it's such a it's proof of like of God and of God's glory. And like, so this is for him. So to hear that it's blessing you guys is just like, I can't even explain how it feels. And it's all like, it's literally all, it's all God. It's all God reaching you. And I know that some of you here are not down with God in that way, and you're not down with Jesus. And I say it all the time that I respect everybody's beliefs, and I respect wherever you're at. And you don't have to believe what I believe. Kratom may not be as innocent as it looks. I know everyone is different, but I should have known better due to my previous trouble with other substances. That's the other reason why this channel and this community and this fellowship is here, is because a lot of us didn't know. A lot of us didn't know what the risks were. That's also, you know, my mission with all of this, is that I want to raise awareness to the dangers and the risks that kratom brings to the table, because it is often painted in a light that it is harmless, and that it does no wrong, and that it's no more addictive than coffee. And it really is a dangerous substance that for some people they can take it responsibly, and for some people it doesn't have the same effect that it has for those of us who really get caught up in addiction with it. So it is different for different people, but there are too many of us. And once I started to learn about really how much this was affecting people, and I will go into this real quick because somebody asked about support groups, and I'll go into this, that where you know, I started to like the veil was lifted, and I started to see that like, okay, there are a lot of people who are going through this. That's a funny lag. And this happened when I ended up on the Quitting Kratom subreddit. Like I said, I had never been on Reddit before. And I ended up on there just looking at, oh, yay, Blue Star, my girl. Yay, I'm so glad you're here. I'll talk about that in a sec. I ended up on Reddit because I was looking at 90 Day Fiance memes when I was like, you know, in like hardcore depression in my kratom recovery, and I was just like looking at 90 Day Fiance memes laughing. And for some reason, I don't even know how it happened, but I came across the Quitting Kratom subreddit. And I think because I didn't know anything about Reddit, and I was just like typing in things into Reddit, like seeing what kind of stuff came up. And I just put in kratom, and I found like the pro kratom a subreddit, but then I found the Quitting Kratom subreddit, and it just blew the top off. Like I was like, oh my gosh, there are all of these people who are going through this. And at this point, like I said, I was going through it alone. I was going through my whole addiction, my whole recovery completely alone. I had no idea that anybody else was experiencing this. And when I came across this subreddit, I was like, it was so enlightening. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, like, because in there as well, you can type in like within that subreddit, you can type in hair loss, you can type in withdrawals, you can type in sleep, you can all of these different keywords that you can search and look up numerous, like there are thousands at this point of experiences that people are going through when they're in kratom addiction and recovery. And I was just like, my mind was literally blown. And at that point, like I think I was like a few months out of my final quit. And it just was so good to see like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like I'm not the only person on the face of this earth that's going through this. And it really started to also educate me. And so when I speak about like, oh, there's a lot of us that go through this, or I've seen a lot of people who are experiencing this symptom or this, that's where I'm gathering my information from, is from this collection of experiences on this subreddit. And for whoever asked about support groups, and I said I was going to get into it at the end, I want to share that the Quitting Kratom subreddit on Reddit is a really great support group. There are also Quitting Kratom 12-step meetings that I checked out a couple times, but it just wasn't the right fit for me. I quit drinking. I've checked out 12-step meetings in different ways for different things over the years, and I just never vibe with them. But there are 12-step Quitting Kratom support groups as well. And I would have to try to source out the direct contact with that again, because it's been a long time since I was connected with any of that, but I can try to do that if I don't know if you're still on here. That was a while ago when you asked that. So I can try to source out that information and then share it in some way. That's a good lag too. Here on our channel, and I know that we're not like this isn't like a huge following. Whoops. It's not a huge following, which it doesn't need, but there's a really great community and fellowship and group that's been gathering here, and we do our prayer groups once a week on Tuesdays right now. And I'm thinking I wanted to do another one that's like this, that isn't as faith-based, that we can just come and hang out and stuff. And so you're welcome to also come here for support. And I say it a bunch that my email is in the bio of my channel.
So, yeah, so you're welcome to hit me up if you ever need one-on-one, like you have any like questions, or you're just like looking for like encouragement one-on-one, you're always welcome to email me. Angelo says, I would love if we had our own subreddit or Discord to discuss our progress. Yeah, I've thought about other platforms. I actually thought about starting this on Zoom. And when I was first like thinking about like a prayer group and just like a way to gather together, and I like that it's on YouTube, which, you know, like I said, this is where I was in my addiction. I like that it's, you know, the anonymity of it, where like, you know, you guys can just be under your, you know, your channel or your screen name or whatever, and there isn't any video cameras and all of that. So, I don't, yeah, like a subreddit would be cool, but this channel is taking up a lot of my, my focus, and, but it would be really cool. And, I mean, until if something like that doesn't materialize, like, you know, please, like, feel free to hang out here whenever we're doing a live stream, or sorry, this thing has been like, I keep saying sorry too, whatever, it's just gonna keep doing it, that's just what's going on. Check in, man, like whenever we're doing live streams, or even in the comments of the videos, like please let me know how you're doing. Send me an email too, like I really want to hear how everybody's doing. Blue Star, absolutely. I feel it has messed with my hormones, my skin, my hair, and gastrointestinal issues. Yes, mama. First of all, I'm so stoked that you're here, if you're still here. And I think about you all the time. And I definitely agree with you that it messes up all of those things. And I was talking about that in like earlier on in the live stream. And I've said it that like, it causes damage, but like all of it it can be healed, and it doesn't last forever. All of the damage that was done to my body, it seems at times like it may be permanent, but it's not. And I'm living proof of that. Let's see. Layla says, I'm open to eliminating coffee at some point, but not yet, LOL. Girl, notice when I said I will never drink again, I will never smoke weed again, I will never do kratom again, but I didn't say I will never drink coffee again. I know I will never drink, I can say I'll never drink coffee the way that I used to again, but I cannot say that I will never have a cup of coffee again. I love the taste. I gotta be honest, I love the feeling. I mean, it was making me feel like junk when I was drinking it before, so maybe it will, you know, just be that way for the rest of my life. But my hope is that down the line, I'll be able to like have a cup occasionally for like a special occasion, because I really love it. But I also love how I feel off of it, and like so many different things about me, like how I relate to other people, how I communicate, how I think. Like it actually was affected a lot more by coffee than I thought. Let's see. Kim says, thank you. Currently on a taper, so unhealthy right now, I believe. And I'm glad that you made it. Everybody ends up here for a reason, and if you're in kratom addiction and recovery, know that we're all here with you. And so I'm really stoked that you're here. And yes, those supplements have been very helpful, and I hope that they're helpful for you too. Angelo says, actually, I'm like going from the bottom up. I should probably start from the top, because I'm like going down. Oh gosh, the psychedelics talk. Okay, I'm gonna dip into it for a second. Here we go. Let me think about this. Let me think about the right ways to say this. I'm gonna drink of water. Okay, so Aldous Huxley
calls them, it's the name of a book, and it's also in reference to psychedelics, and he has referred the name of the book, and the way that he refers to psychedelics is the doors of perception, and it's also where the band The Doors got their name. And psychedelics are doorways, and whether they're looked at the way that Aldous Huxley was looking at them as, that they are doorways into other, states of consciousness, or they are also doorways spiritually, which I know, Angelo, we don't believe exactly the same thing, which is totally cool. But what I believe and what I've experienced, because I've used psychedelics extensively, and I considered myself like a psychonaut, and I considered myself, I feel so embarrassed to even say this, but I'm just going to lay it all out there. I literally considered myself like a shaman, where I saw myself as like again, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'm just being completely honest, and this is not who I am now at all. Please know that. But I considered myself like I was this chosen one that was given the ability to like go into these other planes of consciousness and either gather information, or like, because my psychedelic use went far beyond like eating some mushrooms and like going to a concert or eating some acid with friends and sitting around a campfire. Like I used them for like literally spiritual reasons, and it became so what's the right word? I got so deep into this that I was like, and this wasn't like just imagine, like these were full on experiences, like that were just as real as like being in waking life. And I wasn't just doing like, eating some mushrooms or eating some which is the hippie term for acid. Like I was doing a lot of DMT, and which is a very hardcore psychedelic. And I don't want to go on too long here, because like I said, this is a whole other realm and a whole other topic, and I literally was going to start my channel when this whole channel started. It actually was going to be talking about that kind of stuff, and talking about the risks and the dangers of psychedelics, and I really wanted to just shine light on that whole thing, because kratom has definitely gained popularity, but psychedelics are really in the mainstream right now, and like the use of psychedelics for like mental health stuff and for trauma and for like different therapeutic reasons, it's really coming to the forefront of like mainstream and pop culture. And so I thought that that's where my channel was going to go, but the whole kratom thing really is what I'm supposed to be doing right now, and I really like doing it. So without going on too much, like I was in really deep with psychedelics, and I did believe that they were healing, and I did believe that they were like literally medicine and tools. And what ended up happening over the course of time, because those substances, they are very deceptive, and they make you feel a lot of times better at first, and they do help anxiety, and they do help depression, and they do help trauma at first.
but what's happening is you're not getting to the root issue of what's going on. And so there are aspects to these substances that can seem really beneficial at first, but they're very deceptive, and they cause a lot of damage. And I understand that different people have different thoughts on them and what their benefits are, and there are a lot of, just like with kratom, there are a lot of people who are hardcore advocates for psychedelics, because I was one of them for a really long time. But what happened for me is, like, I started explaining this, that like Aldous Huxley calls them the doors of perception, and I 100% believe that they are doorways that are opened. And wherever those doorways are opening to, based on what your beliefs are, that's cool. But for me, what I experienced and what I believe is that those doorways were opened, and there was a lot of bad stuff that came into my life because of it. And the further that I got into using psychedelics for healing and for spiritual purposes, the further from reality I became. And I was working in the cannabis industry at the time. And so I wasn't working a real job. I was working in this, I was basically not living in reality when all of this was going on. And I believed everything that I was experiencing in these visions that I was having. And I know not everybody's going to go this far. I 100% get that. And so my experience is not everyone's, but I stand very firmly on the truth that psychedelics are very deceptive and they're very destructive. And the whole psychedelic culture and the whole psychedelic scene, when I actually started to really unpack what the history was of it, what the history was of these substances, it'll blow your mind, dude. It is not what you think. And I come from a Grateful Dead background. I come from a hippie background, like I was saying. And part of what was enticing to me about the whole hippie scene and why I got really wrapped up into it for a long time, I thought like the Grateful Dead was like my religion, and psychedelics were my religion. And like, I thought Jerry Garcia was like my guardian angel. Like, that's how, like, amongst a bunch of other weird beliefs. But like, I thought that, that like the whole psychedelic culture of the 60s, the whole, like, West Coast, like Haight-Ashbury, the whole psychedelic scene that started in the 60s and then evolved over time. I thought it was like this huge serendipitous thing that just like naturally happened. I thought that, what's his bucket that discovered that discovered acid, the guy who rode the bike, Albert Hoffman, I think, is that his name? I get all those names mixed up now. I used to like have my finger on the pulse, have my ear to the streets about all that stuff, and I knew all those dudes' names. What is his name? I think it's Albert Hoffman, who first, the scientist who first discovered LSD and took a bike ride. All of that stuff is not true, just so you know. All of it, the whole psychedelic scene, all of it, like, yes, there was stuff that did happen and did, evolve out of it. And I don't need to get into like conspiracies or conspiratory stuff right now, because if, you're watching Layla, about the cats and Illuminati type stuff that it was easy to go to with kratom. I'm not going to go hardcore into conspiracies right now, but I will tell you right now, conspiracies or not, you cannot deny truth, and there is way too much truth that proves that everything about the psychedelic scene and those drugs themselves did not come into existence. Thank you. Yes, Blue Star. it is there. Blue Star says LSD was developed by the CIA. Without going too far into conspiracies, I will encourage you all to start to wrap your mind around this. And yes, there's a lot of things that is conspiratory about it, but there are too many truths. There are too many government programs that were started that used psychedelics as literal mind control drugs. It was, yes, Blue Star says they wanted mind control over their adversaries. Like there are too many, and like for sure, so the soldiers would fight nonstop. I think that it was used for different reasons. It wasn't so that I don't think specifically so that soldiers would fight nonstop. I think it was used to try to confuse and keep people that they wanted controlled under control. Blue Star says, I have a friend that follows the Grateful Dead. Yeah, dude, it was a huge chunk of my life. And I moved on from it and let go of, because it was a big, like I said, it was like my religion. So I don't need to go too far because I could talk about this forever. And like I said, I was thinking about going into this on my channel at first. And yeah, so I won't go too hard, and I know that may not like be exactly where you were going with things, Angelo, but like in a very, basic, vague sort of way. Bottom line is I feel like they are extremely dangerous, and I do feel like they are mind control drugs, and I was under that influence for a really long time, and by the grace of God, I am not anymore, and I'm so thankful for it. So that's how I feel about psychedelics, and I do not think that they help, and I do not add relief that they give, and you do not get to your root issues getting spun out on acid or mushrooms or Molly or whatever the substance is. You do not solve your root issues. You're escaping from reality, and you're self-medicating with a drug that can cause a lot of damage. And if there's any sort of underlying mental health stuff, it can really exasperate it. Let's see. Layla, I've been using for over 10 years and had a bad car accident in 2018. Oh man, Layla, I didn't know that you were on it for that long. Oh, God bless you, sister. Like you are such a soldier. I am so blessed and honored that we have crossed paths. Oh man, you are so awesome. Oh, Layla says I love 90 Day Fiance. It's my guilty pleasure. I don't have any more guilty pleasures. The single life has been a banger this season. If you had the chance to see it, we literally got Discovery Plus, so like I could crack out on my 90 Day Fiance. My thing is lagging. I love to just like check out, watch a little Angela and Mako, and a little Big Ed. Oh, Layla's getting into heavy metal detox. I don't know, man. I got really caught up in that in the heavy metal detox thing, and it was not for me. Does kratom cause hair loss? Anthony, I told you that I did a video about that, and I lost over half my hair. It's come back, thank God. Angela says, I have not experienced hair loss, and I have balding in my family, but it could be different for others. Yeah, you're lucky, man. You're lucky that you haven't experienced it. A lot of people that I have come across have experienced hair loss. It's taken me a long time too. I'm at almost 3 years, like I said, and it's taken me a long time to get my hair back in order. Let's see here. Hey, all the new folks, if you're just joining, we are
just hanging out and chatting about where we're at and what we have going on. Some of us are getting off of kratom right now. Some of us are still in our addiction. Some of us have gotten off of it. So welcome to all you new folks that are joining. Let's see here. Layla says, everything we learned in the 80s about nutrition was the opposite of truth. Margarine, I know, dude. Yeah, that's why I don't subscribe like his whole view on diet, because it's about foods. And so I really dig, there's some things about the Weston Price way of eating that I'm not into, but I really like his perspective. And if you're wondering what he's about, look him up. Oh, Kim says prayer group is nice. Yay. Oh, actually, let me go back a little bit. Zoom is good. Zoom would be perfect. I don't mind showing my face. That's cool. Yeah, I think it'd be nice to be able to like interact more and like hang out and talk and stuff. So maybe I will try to organize something like that, Angelo. It would be cool to like actually talk with each other. Kim says prayer group is nice. Thank you so much. Been following you and I like your vibe. So helpful too. Kim, thank you for saying that. I'm so glad that you're here. And I love connecting with each and every one of you. That's probably my worst addiction. YouTube, Dirk says. Yeah, man, when I've been into YouTube for a long time now, but when I was in my kratom addiction, it was at its worst. And I'm not a TV person. Like, I'll watch my 90 Day Fiancé crap, but I'm not a TV person, and I like being able to choose what I watch, and I find that YouTube is really good for that. Kim says, oh, actually, Blue Star says, oh, thank you, still here. I pray for everyone in this group. Blue Star, you're my girl. You're all my girls. You're all my guys. You're all my brothers and sisters. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. Kim says, just want to feel that natural high again without substance. Man, I don't know if you were here when I was talking about when I started to feel real joy again. But if you didn't hear when I was talking about that, go back on the live stream. And I really encourage you to hear about that, because the natural high and joy that comes after giving up kratom and substances it's incomparable to any high. Blue Star asks, what do you do when you have a bad day? What do you do when you have cravings? Do you still have cravings? I'll answer that one at a time. What do you do when you, well, because you're also a believer, first of all, I really try to focus on God. And I really try when it's hard to put my focus on God and praising and thanking Him and worshiping Him no matter how hard it is. And I also really try to focus when things seem really bad and seem really hard. I try to focus on the very simple things that I have to be thankful for. And I also, this is something that is, I feel like a part of the whole process for us is like acceptance. When I'm having a hard day, sometimes I push through that stuff that I just said. But then sometimes I just get to this point where and I haven't had days like this in a while, thank God. But when I was in them, I would get to a point where I would just have to accept it and like not try. Like, I feel like with kratom addiction and with any sort of substances, we are trying to run away from, the feelings of not feeling good. And so sometimes just, being in that acceptance of, okay, I feel like crap today. I feel like crap right now. But this is how it is right now, and just knowing that it's not going to last forever and focusing on that. And I promise you guys all the time that it's not going to last forever, because it doesn't. So, and then the last part, what do you do when you have cravings? Do you still have cravings? I know that this may not relate with everybody, but for me, because of the strict abstinence policy that I talked about, and it's by the grace of God that I do not have any cravings. And there may be parts of me that, like, you know, wants that sort of happiness, but I immediately, when I if there's ever any thought of like how good kratom ever felt, I think about I will remember the withdrawals. I will remember how hard it is. And so, or whatever, I would think about how terrible it was, how terrible the withdrawals were. I would think about how terrible it was when I would get sick from taking too much kratom. Anthony asks, any feedback on stopping extracts? Anthony, I don't have any experience with extracts, but I've heard of a lot of people who have lost a lot to them. And I cannot give any personal experience, but I do know from what I've heard that you can taper off of them, just as you can taper off the powdered leaf. Check out the Quitting Kratom subreddit. They go into, there's a lot of different people sharing their experiences there about it, and they have a tapering and quitting guide on there as well. Oh, I haven't seen your name before. The Orpel family, welcome to you if you're still here. Anyone experience significant skin issues with kratom? My skin, whoops, I lost my chat. I don't know if you're still here. I like your profile pic. My skin on my face has lost its elasticity and started to sag. Definitely trying to get off it. Sorry, my name is Sarah. Hey, Sarah. I don't know if you're still here right now. Welcome to you. I'm stoked that you're here. I see your profile pic, and this channel was started and is all because of God. So you ended up in the right place, and it's an awesome place to fellowship. And we have a prayer group, a Quitting Kratom prayer group that we have every Tuesday. So I'm so stoked that you're here. To answer your question, and I shared this a little bit earlier on, I didn't go into a lot of detail. Sorry, my thing has been lagging this whole time of this stream. But skin issues were a huge contributing factor to me quitting, as well as hair issues. And so, yes, you're not alone with what you're experiencing with your skin. For me, it dried out my skin so badly, and like you're saying, it like lost elasticity. And it was, I think, in a lot of ways due to the dehydration from kratom, and it wreaked havoc on my skin, my hair, my body. And so I'm not sure if you're still watching, but I wanted to just let you know that it does get better after you quit. It's taken me a little bit of time, and I've gone through a lot of trial and error, like using different stuff on my face. I'll be 40 this year, so I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I have, a little bit of wrinkles around my eyes and, the stuff like that. But like, it's been night and day from when I first started out in my addiction, and how bad my skin was and how my skin is now. So if you're able to, oops, I don't know if you're still around, but yeah, maybe you'll check this out later and maybe you'll hear this. I think I want to do a video all about skin stuff too. Okay, guys, that's all the comments that I have had, and I don't know who's still hanging around right now. But it was so awesome to connect with you all. Sorry for the lagging issues, and I thought I was only going to jump on here for an hour. That's how it always seems.
when I do these. So if you have been here the whole time, that's awesome. If you've stopped in occasionally or just for a moment, that's awesome too. And thanks for coming by to hang out. And I'll be doing our next prayer group on Tuesday morning. I'm not sure the time right now, so I'll leave a heads up in the community section. And hey Kyle, yay! I love seeing you around, man. I hope you're doing well. It's so good to see you around. Awesome. Dirk, man, you're so welcome. Thank you for being here. Thanks for connecting. I'm really thankful for every one of you guys. And Blue Star says, I checked out. Oh my God. Yeah, I love her, Blue Star. Blue Star, you're my girl. You're all, like I said, you are all my people, and I'm so stoked that we have this place to be together. I hope everybody has a good weekend, and hit me up if you ever need to. My email's in the bio, and I'm sending love to you all. So I'll see you on Tuesday if you can make it. Okay, much love, guys. Oh, I canceled the end. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate your feedback. So glad God brought me here. Sarah, dude, I'm stoked. I'm stoked that you're here. Don't be a stranger. And I'm so glad that we've connected. Okay, much love to everybody. Bye.